Hello, everybody. Just a quick disclaimer at the beginning of this episode. I was planning on talking about 4 topics today, which are reasons to move, where to move to, how to settle into your new place, and feeling guilty and homesick. But after I talked about the first 2 topics, I realized the episode is already really long, and so I decided to make a part 2. So just don't be confused if I don't speak about all 4 topics that I said I would talk about. I'm still trying out all of this and seeing how much I can really fit into the episodes without them being like 2 hours long. So the next episode next week should be part 2 of this, and I hope you're excited for this one too. And I can guarantee if you're planning to move or you're unsure about moving or just everything that's concerning, okay, maybe not, maybe here, maybe there, all of this we will cover today. And next time it's for when you're already more sure that you're going to move, or maybe you've already moved and then you just need to kind of feel at home again, and also this feeling of living at 2 places at once, maybe like that. So now, without further ado, please enjoy this episode, and I'll see you next Monday.
I swear I heard it.
So you want to move out, or you're already planning on moving out, or you've moved out already and you're searching for some tips on how to navigate life in a new city. Today, we'll talk about reasons to move and how to decide whether you should do it now or later, where to move to, how to settle in to your new place, and feeling guilty or homesick. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Big Sister Chats. Before we dive into the episode, there's a small chapter called If We Were Having Coffee. This is our format where I tell you a little bit about me and how my life is going right now. It's inspired by a newsletter from the Bliss Bean, if anybody knows her. But now, if we were having coffee, I would tell you that I finally bought a new phone. My old one was almost 6 years old, and while I had really tried to keep it for longer, there was no chance. It would just turn off multiple times a day at random, and it would take 9 minutes to start again. So that's not nice. And I got myself an early birthday gift. And actually, of course, I'm pre-recording this. So when you listen to this, it's probably, let's say it this way, this episode launches on my birthday. So that's something. I would tell you that I'm trying to get in 10,000 steps a day. And right now I have about 9,948. And I just noticed that I go to the gym in the morning and then I barely move at all. At work, I'm mostly sitting at my desk. And when I come back home, I'm also just sitting because my hobbies are all writing and other creative stuff. And so I made it a goal to move more. On the sunny days, I take a walk through the city, which is quite nice actually. And on the rainy days, I just have to go to the gym again, so I won't be soaked when I come back home. And I would tell you that I started doing a morning journal. I get up half an hour earlier than usual to write down some thoughts that come to me first thing in the morning. And the rest of the time I want to use for language learning, since I'm already up anyways. I started learning Italian with Duolingo in August last year, but I stopped somewhere in December because I had to study for other exams, and then I never really picked it up again because after work I genuinely don't want to do it anymore. So that's it. Now, if we were having coffee, I would also love to hear your stories. So be sure to head over to Instagram and let me know how your life has been lately.
I swear.
Welcome to Big Sister Chats, the podcast where we dive into all things mental health, physical well-being, and cultivating a positive mindset. Whether it's about growing in life or tackling everyday challenges, I've got you covered. Growing up with 3 brothers, I always wished I had another woman to turn to for advice. If you've ever felt the same way, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode. First of all, what can be reasons to move? And the first one that came to mind was for studying and working. And actually, if you're doing this, I'm really proud of you, because that's one big step into adulthood. And you might be doing it to get better education, to, I don't know, go to your dream university, get paid much more. This is all depending on the country you're living in. And I love that for you. You could also be moving with a partner. Of course, maybe you're planning on getting children or planning your life together. And that's so awesome. Or you just want to move out. And I get you. Living with your family can be hard, but we'll touch upon it later again. Don't rush things. Have a plan and consider. We will talk about money, siblings, and many other factors. So, how do you decide whether you should move now or later? So, let's be honest. You can save a lot of money by living with your parents. It also depends if your parents are going to pay for your new home. This might be the case if you're going to university, but there are also many other costs that you have to think about that you probably don't recognize when you're still living with them. And of course, there will be a moment where you should start paying for your own living. That can be partly or fully. I think what can prepare you for moving out. Let's say you're going to finish school this semester and you'll be starting a job in 3 months. Over the summer, you can ask your parents to give you some money instead of paying everything for you. This might include grocery shopping or shopping in general, but there are also many other costs. And I advise you to talk to them early on, and especially if you're moving abroad. But let's keep going. What I wanted to say is moving out is expensive because you will be needing everything. If you move out for the first time, you can bring some stuff from home, but then that's it. You'll need plates, cups, towels, bed sheets, things like bowls and pans, and maybe a couch and a washing machine, and the list goes on and on and on. And yeah, what can help is, of course, moving into a shared flat, or I mean, some apartments still have some things there that you can keep. But I think it's nice moving into a shared flat when you're first moving out, and also it's cool in your college years, you have people around. That's really nice. And mostly there are things like, I mean, around the kitchen and the bathroom, there's many things. Forks, plates, glasses, whatever. And you can bring some of your own things to share with the new mates. And you don't need to buy everything new, you know? And let's say maybe your mom is nice enough to gift you 2 of her bowls and a pan and a pot. And I don't know, you'll be fine, you know? And you can slowly build over the next months. While you're living, you'll recognize what you still need. Like, oh, I don't have enough kitchen towels. Then you'll buy 3 more. And you don't need to buy everything at the beginning. If that is not an option for any reason, moving in with flatmates, you can try getting things for cheap at first. There's second-hand apps in your country, I'm sure, and you can get things for much cheaper or even for free. Or there's also second-hand stores. Just don't overdo it. There's certain things you should just invest in. While it's certainly a style to have mismatched cups and chairs, I wouldn't settle for some old towels or mattresses, bed sheets. Who knows? Somebody might have used that for years, and yeah, you know your limits, and that will be fine. Then, make sure you have some money on hand. You can do this by working a summer or weekend job at a restaurant, for example, or at a bar or something like that in between times, maybe even next to school or university. And of course, if you're already working and you just need some more money to prepare for moving out or just moving, you can always ask the people around you for money as a gift for your birthday, for Christmas, and so on. You know, I think it's always kind of hard to tell people, hey, please don't buy me anything. I would really rather have the money. But if you talk to them and tell them, like, hey, I really want to move out, I'm sure everybody will be more than happy to get you a bar of chocolate and stick some money to it. You know, that's for sure. And for your closest people, like your parents, other family members, you can always tell them that you're moving out and that you need a little bit of support, and maybe they can even give you some money that you can pay back later. But really use the money for moving purposes. You know, keep it somewhere safe. Don't touch it for anything else you want. Just keep it for moving, and keep track of the money you have and the money you'll most likely need. Just start early on, because you'll need the money for your new flat. I don't know if you've ever moved out, but at least around here, it's common that you have to pay a caution, and that's 3 months worth of rent. So depending on how high your rent is, this can be quite high. When you're moving out again, you'll get that money back if nothing's damaged. But for now, you know that money is gone. And as said, it can be a lot. And of course, if you're buying a whole apartment or a house, or renting, let's say that way, or buying, I mean, both is really expensive. So you'll have to plan on that, of course. And if you're moving to a new city or maybe even a new country, it's most likely that you'll have to pay some fees just for moving there. So this might include, I don't know, registration and getting bank accounts, finding some insurance company, new internet, a phone provider, new number, you'll need all of that. And so moving to another country can also be a lot of money in the beginning, and you just don't know. I remember when I moved abroad, there were so many fees I didn't know would be there. They were just, there were letters, and then it was like, okay, now this much money again and this much, and it was never really a lot. But still, it adds up. So, also, you're most likely not going to bring any food from home to your new place. So you'll also have to buy that in the beginning. Again, maybe you can bring some groceries like rice, noodles, and, or they might already be there if you're moving to a shared flat. But if you have to buy everything, salt, pepper, I don't know, there's really, if you look into your kitchen, there's a lot there. And if you have to buy everything, it's also a lot of money in the beginning. What I can say to that is you could throw a welcome party for your family and friends if you're not living like 8 hours away, just moving to a nearby city. And instead of them giving you gifts, you could ask everybody to bring just useful things, Or if you'll be needing certain things, I said like pots and pans, you can just ask again for Christmas, for your birthday. It might seem weird at first, but why would you get another pair of pajamas that you're never gonna wear and then have to invest in everything else again yourself? Doesn't make much sense, does it? So now we've come to one of the most important points. How do you decide if it's the right time to move out? I would say if you're doing this for university or a new job, it's most likely the right thing to do. Trust your gut and try spending as much time as you can with your friends and family, and mentally prepare that you're not going to be there so often anymore, depending on how far you're moving away and what you'll be doing. If you're working, it's one thing. If you're studying, you might have some more holidays, but then there's also exam seasons, What helps me if I'm not sure whether I should move, at least I did that last time when I was looking at shared flats and apartments and different cities and all of that, I was listing everything that makes me consider moving away from my current home and what makes me consider staying. In the last city I lived in, the weather was really nice. It had really, really good climate, and it was sunny almost every day. At least it felt like that, And it's so nice and warm and all of that. And I'm a summer child, and I feel that. And I have a much better mood when it's sunny outside. And there was a big reason why I considered staying. And ultimately, I got a job offer in the city I'm living in now. And I was also considering, should I take it? Should I not take it? Because people from my previous work were telling me, you should go there. People are so nice and all of that. But everybody also said, oh, but weather is not so nice. It's always raining there. And it was a big, big point for me to think about. And even now, sometimes I'm complaining. It's like, it's always raining here. Why is it always raining here? And yeah, I also already said, okay, maybe one day I'll move back to my old city because I really, really loved it. And it's also pretty. But this one is pretty too. I mean, I love everything here except the weather. And yeah, again. So list everything and then spend some time in your new city. Ultimately, it's up to you. Try calculating beforehand, and just in case something goes wrong, have a plan B. So my parents always told me, like, hey, if something goes wrong, you always have a place here. You can always come back home. For you, it might be your best friend or your older brother who at least has a spare couch for 2-3 months until you can get back on your feet. You know, just in case. Then, let's see what we're doing next. Let's do where to move to. So, at first, you should think about where did you grow up and how did you like it. So I come from a really small town, like really, really, really small. And I was so used to the nights being dark and quiet, and I always had the same people around me. No stepping out of my comfort zone. I knew everybody basically, and it's still common to greet everybody on the streets, even if you don't know them. But that was, that was just normal for us at home. And then I moved to a city for the first time, and the nights were filled with light pollution. And I had some people I knew that had the same routine as me in the morning, but out of that I knew nobody. Of course, like friends at school, but it's not like you see somebody and you say, hey, yeah, who's that? Yeah, that's the uncle of that and that. It's not the same amount of small. So there are still strangers there, and a lot of strangers. And I also learned pretty fast that greeting strangers in a big city is pretty uncommon. Yeah, let's say I was perceived as a little bit weird in the first weeks I was there, but I was friendly. All in all, I liked it. And after my degree, I moved to an even bigger city. And that was too big. And then I moved back to actually, I lived with my dad for a month. And then I moved again. And now I finally found the right city size for me. And yeah, I kind of love it, So the moral of the story is try things out. And how do you do that? So one really easy way is doing apprenticeships. Maybe, at least I had to do that when I was attending my higher college. We had to do, like, all in all, over the course of the 5 years, we had to do 8 weeks of internships. And I did them back in my home country. But actually, I could have done them abroad. And I mean, that's really nice. And mostly universities and all of that, they also want that. So I would definitely do that if you had the chance. They can be anything from, 4 weeks to a year even, or longer. I mean, if you want to go longer, but maybe don't, I think like 8 weeks or something is already good. You can get a good feeling for the city and the people and also the job that you're doing. And then you can try something different again, The other option is going on holidays. Stay there for a week or two if you're already considering like one city that you want to move to. And my advice would be, don't sleep in hotels. Try couch surfing instead. So you can see like the real side of the city. And maybe you can even try couch surfing with multiple people, not just at one couch. And then you can see, okay, maybe this part of the city is louder. This is more quiet. Here I would like to move to. And also the people who are offering couch surfing, they can mostly show you around, and tell you. And yeah, it's a nice way to see things. And also a cheap way to travel. And if that's, I don't know, still too expensive because maybe you're just coming out of school and you don't have so much money, you can still do these things like Hostel World, where you can work and get accommodation for that. So you can sleep there and you're working, 20 hours, something a week. And the rest of the time you can just explore. I think it's really nice. It's a nice way to save money and do that. Yeah. So, what are the things you should look out for once you're in the city? You might have different factors. Think about what's important to you. But here are my top 3. 1 is noise, 2 is light, 3 is people. There are certain countries where you cannot close the window shields fully. So if you are in a city with a lot of light pollution, but you can only sleep in darkness, this might be a challenge. And then there's people. Maybe you want to be away from home, but still have a feeling of community. Then why not move to the land side? But you know yourself the best, What's more important to you? A supermarket that's like 2 minutes away by walk, or having one restaurant where everybody meets, And also culture is a big point here. Some countries have a tendency to be louder, while others are more reserved. And of course, now that we are able to travel more easily, you can meet your people everywhere. Even if you're in a more louder country, let's say it that way, you can still find people which are reserved and quiet if that's what you're looking for. But just, And back to the noise. I actually have another story for you. I have a friend from Rome. I don't know why I keep going back to Rome in this podcast, but okay. And when she came here, she said she couldn't sleep because it was too quiet. She was used to people like honking outside all night because somebody stole their parking place or something like that, And there were parties and others shouting from the balcony, and it's very much alive, and she could never settle for less. And I think if I would go to Rome to visit her, I wouldn't be able to sleep forever. I'm sure I'd get used to it to some extent, but actually, the idea of people shouting and cars honking and all of that all night sounds horrible to me. So maybe even if you're going to study in a big city, it's the better option for you to take the 20-minute bus ride out to the land side and save some nerves and also money, because mostly apartments and other places on the countryside are cheaper than in the city. Yeah. Back to where you should move to. So, if you're planning on moving out now, you should make a list of possible cities early enough. Even if you're planning on moving with a partner, because there will be pros and cons for every option. And you should be able to decide for yourself, or you can even get some opinions from the people around you. I think you should gather as much information as you can. I mean, there are blogs for certain cities. That's really nice. YouTube videos like vlog, maybe. Like, I've seen a lot recently. I've seen really a lot of YouTube videos like moving to my dream apartment in New York City or something like that. And they're kind of nice. I like them. I don't plan on moving to New York, but yeah. And yeah, it's really cool. And you can even, I mean, nowadays you can even search TikToks about people moving in general or living in a certain city. But just, yeah, be sure. Don't forget that these can be just the best images, you know? There's not always all honest content on the internet. And yeah, what I wanted to say is you can also ask family or friends if anybody knows anybody who has moved before. I mean, your parents have probably moved before, but also if somebody's moved to the city you want to move to, or if you're moving abroad again, somebody who's moved abroad already, or maybe even to the country you want to move to, that would be really great because they can help you with a lot. It's easy to just forget something, and that would be bad. And if you're the first one in your family and your friend group and your university and everywhere else that's moving away, I mean, okay, it's hard, but how exciting, isn't it? In the end, I have to say it again, trust your gut. You're young, you can move again. It's okay to make the wrong choice. You will gain a lot of experience, but of course, I hope that you will already find your dream city now. Then there's another part I want to cover, is whether you want to live in your own home, like alone or with a partner, or in a shared flat, or in a boarding school, or at campers. And there's also other options, like living with elderly people. I personally speak slowly. Okay. I could not live alone right now because I have zero self-discipline when it comes to the household. But I know when there are other people around, the kitchen is clean and the floors are vacuumed on time. That would not happen if I were living alone. I can tell you that alone from when my flatmates are gone and I'm here alone for a few days. It's looking a mess and I'll only clean up before they're coming back. It's not a good habit, but it is what it is. So for me, living together, really nice. But of course, living alone brings a certain freedom that you might enjoy. It's also the more expensive option, but some people just don't like sharing flats, or maybe you've already lived in shared flats and now it's time to live alone. So, if you decide to share a flat, please consider and take it slow. Don't just move in with anybody because you're desperate. I mean, also, like, don't sleep on the street, but there can be really bad flatmates, So take a good look around. Ask if you can take some pictures. And don't just go and expect the first flat you see to be the one. So I was also searching for a flat not too long ago. And what I did was I would make an Excel list and I compared things like price, room size, but also if I had a good feeling about them as people and how, for example, clean the kitchen looked, if they liked to party, how public transport was, because I use public transportation to get to work from home. So that was also important. I didn't want to spend an hour a day or 2 hours, let's say that way, just for public transport, So searching for flats is actually really time consuming. So maybe schedule some video calls instead of instantly going to the apartment. And if it clicks, don't rent immediately. Like if you're having a call and it seems good, you should really go and see it in person, the apartment. Take the time to drive there, walk the route, and just watch what time it takes you. Because again, it will help you calculate how long you'll take from university or work to home and how much time that's going to cost you. Have your non-negotiables. For me, it was the price. I had a certain number I would not go over. And what was also important for me, I wanted to have at least one woman in my shared flat. You can decide that for yourself. Maybe you just want to move in a shared flat with only men. That's fine too, just know what you want. Could also be, I don't know, how much time you want to spend for transportation. If you cannot seem to find a fitting flat, you can also try finding an apartment for your own and then get people to move into you. You can try finding people beforehand. There's like websites for that. Also for, of course, finding a shared flat, but also if you want to rent an apartment and then find people. It would be good to find these people beforehand and then go together and decide together. Or if you have some money, it's probably easier to just rent an apartment and put it on these websites and try to get somebody in as early as possible. So you just have to pay one full rent and then it will be split starting with the second month. Just there's some legal stuff to do there. You probably gotta check that because not everybody can just rent their apartment. It's easier said than done. Just do your research for your country and city. And then there's boarding schools or like campus. And that's nice because sometimes they even have food like breakfast and dinner included, or at least there's like some kitchen area and washing machines and all of that. And I know these can be very gross, don't get me wrong. There's a ton of bad stories about these kitchens and these bathrooms, and sometimes you'll have to share bathrooms and all of that. But they are also a lot of fun. Same thing is for the shared flat. So if you find the right people, it will always be fun. Sometimes you cannot choose who you'll share a room with at campus, I think. But I don't know. That's always up to the university. And I think if it's really bad, you can always try getting another room or be paired up again differently. You know. All in all, I would definitely recommend that for your first 1 to 2 semesters at university, because it's so easy to meet friends, and I mean a lot of people do it that way. And after the semester or two, you can move into a shared flat with the people you really like, endure 1 semester, half a year on campus in boarding school, and you'll find people who you like, and then you can just choose them, and that's really cool. And it's also much more stress-free for the beginning, especially when you're like studying in another country. It takes off so much off your shoulders if you can just live in this boarding school or campus. It's really, really good. And as we talked about in the first episode, I mean, it's so much easier making friends in university. And then there's living with older people. I have discovered this on my search for a shared flat. Like, there's certain people, for me, I mostly saw like moms around 50 to 60 that had a spare room because all their children moved out. And I've never lived in such a household, but it's an option I wanted to include because, I mean, I think it's really cute. And they're mostly renting these rooms to younger people who are just starting to work or going to university. And that's really cool. One last point for where to move to is the currency. Your money might be worth much more or much less in another country, depending on the economy. Look at prices for food, rent, insurance beforehand, and compare them with the money that you have or will be earning there. So, that's that. Let's see. We are already so far, and I think I'll split this into 2 parts because there's still a lot to cover, from how to settle into your new place and about the feeling of guiltiness and homesickness. So actually I wanted to do more, but I think we'll just skip to the recap and key takeaways, and there will be a second episode on those 2 topics. Okay, let's recap what we have learned today. First, try to figure out if it's the right time for moving already and what kind of life you aspire to have. Get your non-negotiables and be clear with them, whether it's about the city, like we talked about noise and light and all of that, and with your new apartment, how big should it be, how expensive should it be, how should the people be, all of that. choose your next home carefully and spend some time getting to know the city before you move in. Then, I've said this so often, I feel like that moving is expensive, especially if you're doing it for the first time. Don't underestimate. Prepare in advance by setting some money aside or asking friends and family to help you out. You can, for example, ask for kitchen items for Christmas that you know you'll love and use. Next time, we will be talking about how it's completely normal to feel homesick every now and then, and how you can battle these feelings, and when you just have to go back, and about the topic that you're going to miss out on some things and that can potentially hurt, but also how to manage these feelings and get back on track and remember that you are doing this for yourself. Okay, so these were all my tips and tricks on moving out from home. Let's say the first part of it, because I don't want this to be like 1.5 hours long. I hope you liked this episode, and if you did, leave a rating so others can find this podcast too, and consider subscribing so you never miss a new episode. Be sure to head over to Instagram at podcast_Big Sister Chats for some more insights into my life and content all around physical and mental health and growing in life. See you there. Bye.